Hello everybody. Lifespan development. Under this, we are going to deal with the topic development during infancy. The objective of this lesson is to understand the physical and motor development, to understand the socio-emotional development during the infancy, and to understand the acquisition of language and importance of early stimulation. Infancy is a period from 0 to 2 years, that is from birth to 2 years of the age. In this period, the child undergoes physical growth at a rapid rate greater than he will never experience subsequently. It is interesting to know that the changes that takes place during this first 2 years of life. The children at this stage are very active learners. During this period, the baby's physiological process becomes operative and fairly well adjusted. The physical development is orderly and occurs in a predictable sequence. For example, motor sequence, that is the order of new movements, for infants involves orderly sequence, that is first the head and the trunk control comes. Then the infant learns to lift the head and watches a moving object from the side to side moving of the head. This occurs in the first few months of the life after the birth of the infant. Then the infant rolls over the tummy from the stomach to back first and then from back to stomach. This occurs in the age of 4 to 5 months of age. Sit upright in a high chair. This requires development of strength in back and neck muscles. This movement or motor occurs during the 4 to 6 months of the age. The infant gradually is able to pull self into sitting position. Then after learning to sit, the infant learns to crawl. Crawling occurs soon after the child learns to roll onto the stomach by pulling arms and wiggling the stomach. Hitching. The infant must be able to sit without support from sitting position. They move their arms and legs, sliding the buttocks across the floor. Then comes the creeping. As the arms and legs gain more strength, the infant supports his weight on hands and knees. Stand with help as arms and legs become more stronger. Then the infants learn to stand while holding the furniture, and then he walks with the help of a better leg strength and coordination. When the child learns to pull self in a standing position, he will be able to stand alone without support. And then after standing comes the walking. He can walk alone without any support or help. All these changes in physical skill are involved with a motor sequence. Then after learning to walk, the child will include hopping, running, then writing, and all these fall into two main areas of development. First one is the gross motor development. Gross motor means the large muscle development. Large muscle development refers to improvement of skills and control of large muscles of the legs, arms, back and shoulders, which are used while we are walking, sitting, running, jumping, climbing or riding. The fine motor development, that is the small muscle development, refers to use of very small muscles early or too late and having no control over these movements. By the age of 9 months, the infants improve the eye-hand coordination, which gives them the ability to pick up objects. The muscles of the fingers and hands for activities such as grasping the objects, holding them, cutting them, drawing them, writing are all require the fine muscle coordination and eye and hand coordination. Early hand movements in infants are reflex movements. By 3 or 4 months of age, the infants are still unable to grasp the object because they close their hands reflectively. Vision at birth. An infant's vision is blurry when at the time of his birth. The infant appears to focus in a center visual field during the first few weeks after birth. In infants, near vision is developed better than the far vision. They can focus an object held at 8 to 15 inches in front of them. As the vision develops, the infants show preference for certain objects and will gaze longer at a patterned objects, and they gaze more at a striped objects than the disc of one solid color. Studies have shown that the infants prefer bold colors to soft pastel colors. They also show visual preferences for faces more than the objects. By the age of 2 months, the infants will show preference at smiling faces than at a face without any expression. As the infant grows older, they are more interested in certain parts of the face. At 1 month of the age, their gaze is on the hairline of the parent rather than the other caregivers. By 2 months of age, the infants will show more interest in the eyes of the face. They form perception from their sensory activities. Sensory perceptual development means it is the information that is collected with the help of the senses. The ideas that are formed about an object or a relationship as a result of what the child learns through the senses. When the experiences are repeated, they form a set of perceptions. This leads to the child forming concepts, that is concept formation. For example, a child will see a black dog with 4 legs and a tail, and later he sees a black cat with 4 legs and a tail and call it a dog. The child will continue to identify the cat as a dog until the child is given additional information or feedback to help him to learn the differences between what is a cat and what is a dog. The concepts help the children to group their experience and make some sense out of the world. Giving young children a variety of experiences help them in forming more concepts. Cognitive development. This refers to the ways the children reason or think, and they develop language, how they are able to solve the problems, gain the knowledge, identify colors, completing a maze, knowing the difference between one and many, and knowing how many things are similar are all these examples of the cognitive tasks which the child has to learn. The children learn through their senses and through their interaction with the people and with the environment or the things around the world. They interact with the world through the senses. Sense organs like the see, touch, hear, smell and taste. They construct meaning and understanding of this world. As the children gain understanding and meaning of the world, their cognitive development can be observed in the ways they play, the way they are using the language, the way they interact with the others, the way they construct the objects and materials. As the children grow and interact with their world, they are going through various stages of development. Although the stages are not precisely tied to a particular age, there are characteristics that describe the children at different ages. During the infancy stage, we can say that is a stage of sensory motor stage of cognitive development. The sensory motor stage occurs in infancy from birth to 12 months of the age. Here, the infants learn about the world through their senses, looking around constantly, looking at the faces of the caregivers, responding to the smiles, and their eyes focus on the bright colors, and they respond to the sounds by looking towards the sounds. During this time, the sensory learning, the infants also show interest in light and movement, such as a mobile over a crib. The infants are also able to recognize their own name in this stage. As infants continue to interact with their surroundings and make meaning out of their world, they also learn about themselves and their own bodies. Their hands and toes become the body objects of interest. As infants master new development in motor sequence like creeping and crawling, they learn they have more control over this world. They have no longer totally dependent on the adult to meet some of their needs. For example, if an infant sees a toy on the floor or his bottle on the table within reach, he has the motor capacity to move forward and reach it. The infants increased freedom to mobility and have the toys and objects within reach are very important during this stage. The task of the adult or the parents or any other caregiver is to ensure that the babies have a safe and clean environment in which they can move about and interact. Object permanence. Between the age of 6 to 9 months, the concept of object permanence develops. This is the infant's understanding that an object continues to exist even if it is out of this sight. The infant's understanding of object permanence means that infants are developing the memory and goal-oriented thinking. This is about the cognitive development, that is the sensory motor stage of development during the infancy. Socio-emotional development. What we understand by the word socio-emotional? The expression of the feelings about self, others and the things that describe the emotional development. Learning to relate others is the social development. Emotional and social development are often described and grouped together because they are closely interrelated growth patterns. Feelings of trust, fear, confidence, pride, friendship, humor are all the part of the socio-emotional development. Other emotional traits are like the self-concept, self-esteem comes under the socio-emotional development. Learning to trust, showing affection to others is also a part of the socio-emotional development. The child's relationship to a trusting and a caring adult is the foundation for the emotional development and personality development of the child. Furthermore, when a child has been neglected or rejected or does not feel secure, he has a difficulty in developing the skills to socialize with others. The age of 13 to 18 months. During this stage, more concrete signs of self-awareness develops. The infants now are aware that their body, emotions, behavior are separate entities and those of their primary caregiver or others. The infants at this stage begin to recognize themselves as a critically important step in development. The changes during this period also show advances in emotional development, as infants are now able to play with pairs and through imitation or mutual play tasks, and also can demonstrate empathy towards others. The age of 19 months to 2 years. As the toddler approaches, the infant becomes aware of the names of various emotional states and starts to use language and other behavior to regulate his or her emotional experiences. Consistent with the growing awareness of others during these later stages of infancy, the more complex stages emerge at this time, like the embarrassment, the guilt, shame, all of which are the emotional responses to other perspectives of childhood behavior. Babyhood is a time when babies are totally dependent upon their parents and caregivers for their protection and care. Consistent, adequate, gentle care can encourage the infant to develop the capacity to trust the people. Now, let us see from birth to 4 months. The focus for this age group is physical care, bonding with mother, visual stimulation, gentle physical handling. And the emotional development milestones will be attachment of the baby to adults, early trust development, eating and sleeping schedules, and by 4 months can be comforted when unhappy. The social development milestones will be turning the head towards familiar voice, will begin to smile when talked or held. By 2 months, they show excitement and pleasure when they are held. Visually get attracted to bright colors. By 2 months, they start gurgle to get the attention. They appear to be enjoying when they are being held. The physical development milestones. By 6 to 8 weeks, the child will learn to move his head from side to side. They lift the head when placed by tummy about 6 weeks of age, and they may roll over by the age of 3 to 4 months. This is about the milestones development during the infant stage. How the infants communicate with others. Crying. Crying is the main source of communication. When they are wet, when they are hungry, when they are frightened, when they are uncomfortable, or when they feel lonely, they express their discomfort through crying. They make gurgle sounds by the age of 4 months. So, what can a parent do? They can talk to the baby. They can hold the baby face to face, especially during the first month of the age, and they can sing or talk to the baby. It can be flexible about the sleeping and eating routines. The parent can hold the baby during the feeding times, take the baby for walks and talk about the sounds, trees, etc., which will aid in the child's language development. Having a playtime with the baby, for example, peekaboo activities or reading storybooks and talk and touching the body parts, all this help in the concept formation and language development during the infancy. Shake a rattle and slowly move it so that the baby follows it with his or her eyes. This helps in the motor development and also the development of sound and vision eye-hand coordination also. What can be the toys that can be given for all this development to take place? Making the playtime safer and opt for unfinished or solid wood toys, PVC free plastic toys. Conventional stuffed toys are also being stuffed with a gas foam fillers. They are not the kind of the studs which the children will be playing or cuddling or sleeping off. So, while shopping, you have to shop for a stuffed toys that are made up of organic or untreated cotton or wool material. Safer stuffed toys usually means that they have not been treated with any nasty flame retardants, but you can just be safe. You can always search for such products or brands. The other toys for the babies can be like the music box, the crib mobile, the soft cloth ball, the teething toys, and the busy box, ceiling posters, large plastic keys, rings, balls and rattles. This is about the play material and how the language development takes place in infancy and what the parents or the caregivers can help the child in their development. Let us now move on to see what are the focus points during the 4 to 8 months of age. The focus for this age group is a responsive physical care, a close relationship with a special adult, a safe play environment. The emotional developmental milestones for this 4 to 8 months age group is the attachment of the baby to the adult occurs, early trust development takes place, the eating and sleeping schedules will be fixed, and the child enjoys playing a peekaboo or being able to grab at the blanket and uses cry to call for attention, and not always it can be a distress call. The social developmental milestones can be he enjoys when they are being held, he smiles when he wants to show pleasure, less smiling around the strangers. The physical developmental milestones can be he can roll over, he can sit with support alone by the end of 8 months, begins to push feet and against the floor or lap and then bounces back. He can be able to see an object, then opens the hand to grasp it. He passes toys from one hand to the other hand. The language and intellectual developmental milestones for this age group will be he will start to babble and coo, looks when the name is called, he will try to imitate the sound, repeats the interesting actions and continues to develop the eye-hand coordination. So, what can the parents do during this age group is often talk to the baby, read to the baby daily, allow the floor time for wiggling, eventually crawling, put the toys just within reach for the child, place the objects or boxes or cans with lids which can make noises, establishing routines in baby's daily life like a regular time or scheduled time for bathing, meals and snacks, napping and bedtime stories. Imitate the baby sound. Freeze a wet washcloth for the baby to teeth on mouth. Talk calmly to a crying baby. Do not shake or toss the baby in the air. Hold the baby close to the mirror and talk about the baby's face. During this time, the baby is very busy and he is beginning to enter the first stage of toddlerhood. Toddlers come in all shapes and sizes, but toddler development at 12 to 15 months typically has few things in common. This is a special time for your child as they grow from baby to toddler. It is also important for the toddler to be socially and emotionally as separation anxiety starts to peak from 14 months of age. The little one will now begin to show empathy. For example, if someone looks sad or gets upset, when he also starts immediately crying after seeing them. The empathy is about understanding how others might be feeling. It is a very crucial part of forming a relationship with the people as the child gets older. The toddler might stand up without needing help from the adults or without the help of any furniture to hold on during these months, and will probably start to walk on his own during these months. As he gets better at walking, he will try to start climbing the stairs. Sometimes the children won't walk until 15 to 18 months of age. So, try to not worry too much about the walking schedule. The focus for this age group is the mobility increases and the infant begins to walk. The infant or the toddler can make choices. Language use and understanding what others are saying increases. The emotional developmental milestones. Strong attachment to adults. Sometimes the fear can be shown especially to such things like clowns or fast moving objects or large dogs. And important developmental milestone in emotional development is the infant can tantrum when he gets frustrated. The socio-developmental milestones. He smiles and shows enjoyment with company of other people, demonstrate signs of independence. He begins the understanding of some behavior are acceptable and some behavior not accepted in the society. He watches other people and their activities. He prefers to be with others while playing. The physical developmental milestones. The child or the infant enjoys crawling, walking around the furniture and standing, and he can pick up tiny objects with the help of the thumbs and fingers, that is the fine muscle coordination occurs, and very oral, everything goes into his mouth. Developing the arm and hand control takes place during this age, and he enjoys putting and taking off the clothes, climbing up and down the furniture and crawling up the stairs. The language developmental milestones. Looks for one or two single words at around 12 months of age and can speak up to 6 words by the age of 15 months. Usually he names familiar objects and people, and he can say a definite no. He loves to imitate other people's actions, and he connects the words to objects. He looks at the books and chooses them. So, what can the parents' role in influencing the development of the child? The parents can show pleasures in baby's abilities. The baby proves the homes like cover outlets, the breakable, and check the safety of the environment. Help the baby practice the pulling up, walking, climbing. Read to the baby using simple books and simple games should be played. Take walks together. Name the objects that can be seen in the environment. Encourage the baby to play the games of imitation of the sounds, words, pointing the body parts. What can be the toys for this age group? Small riding toys, push and pull toys, the balls, stocking games, the picture books, simple puzzles, crayons and busy boxes. The teething toys can also be given for this age group. So, after having understood the development during the infancy, the socio-emotional development, cognitive development, let us now move on to see early intervention or stimulation. Why should we intervene early? Decades of research show that the child's earliest experiences play a critical role in brain development. The Center for Developing Child shows that the neural circuits which create the foundation for learning, behavior and health are almost flexible and plastic during the first 3 years of life. Over time, they become increasingly difficult to change. The persistent toxic stress such as extreme poverty, abuse and neglect and severe maternal depression can damage the developing brain of the child, leading to lifelong problems in learning, behavior, physical and mental health. Brain is strengthened by the positive early experiences, especially stable relationship with the caring and responsive adults, safe supportive environment and appropriate nutrition. All this will help in the child's good brain development. The early social emotional development and physical health provides the foundation upon which the cognitive and language skills will develop. High quality or early intervention services can change the child's developmental trajectory and improve the outcomes for the children, families and communities. Intervention is likely to be more effective and less costly when it is provided better earlier in the life rather than later. So, this is about why the early intervention or stimulation is important during the infant period. So, today we have learned the infancy stage development. We have understood how quickly the developmental takes place at a rapid pace during this period. We also have understood how the motor sequences develop in a sequential pattern. We have understood about the physical development and how the cognitive development takes place during the infant period. We also understood how the language development takes place. Then we have seen at every stage of the life during this infant period, the focus should be and what are the developmental milestones at each period of this stage. And we also have understood as a parent or a caregiver what are the things a parent or a caregiver should know. And we also understood what are the different types of toys that are appropriate at each stage of the period. And at the end, we have seen why early intervention is needed during this period. We have seen and understood that the brain development takes place and it is very critical period of the development. So, early intervention can be planned. Hope you have understood the lesson. Thank you.